It was a quiet evening in the school library. The rows of shelves stretched endlessly, and the faint light made the space feel even lonelier. My desk was cluttered with books and notes, lit by a small lamp. I was so focused, I barely noticed the time passing. By the time I looked up, the library was eerily empty. The stillness felt unnatural. A faint sound broke the silence, a slow, uneven limping sound coming from behind the shelves. I glanced down. The shadows on the floor stretched unnaturally, making the entire room feel warped. I thought I saw a figure between the shelves, but when I looked closer, it vanished into the darkness. I decided to leave immediately. As I stepped into the corridor, it felt impossibly long, with flickering lights overhead. At the far end, I saw someone, a woman, standing motionless. She was hunched over, and her presence made my skin crawl. My heart raced. I called out, "Who's there?" But she didn't move. The silence was deafening. I decided to ignore her and head for the exit. The door was slightly open, and a faint breeze sent chills down my spine. As I moved closer, her shadow stretched along the wall, longer and more distorted than it should have been. Outside, the street was completely empty. Normally bustling with activity, it was now eerily silent. I clutched my bag tightly and walked as fast as I could. My footsteps echoed unnaturally in the quiet. I looked down and froze. A shadow stretched toward me, long, thin, and reaching, though no one was around. I stopped abruptly, my shoes scraping against the pavement. My legs felt weak, as if I couldn't move. The entire street stretched out in front of me, lifeless and hauntingly quiet. Something wasn't right. And then I saw her, a woman limping in the distance, her movements jerky and unnatural. As I got closer, her twisted limbs and dirty, tattered clothes came into view. I stopped in my tracks, too terrified to move forward. My instinct screamed at me to stay back. Her hands and feet were horribly twisted, almost inhuman. Dirt caked her skin, and her nails were jagged. Her wild, tangled hair covered most of her face, but I could feel her staring at me through the strands. Then her eyes glowed faintly, two dim, yellow lights that pierced the darkness. She whispered in a chilling, echoing voice, "Where is my child?" Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I was frozen, unable to answer. My hands trembled, and my throat felt dry as if the air itself had turned to dust. Desperately, I pointed in a random direction and stammered, "Over there." I just wanted her to leave. She turned and limped away into the shadows, her twisted form disappearing into the mist. As soon as she was out of sight, I ran. My legs felt weak, but fear gave me strength. The street echoed with faint footsteps, hers, or mine, I couldn't tell anymore. My knees buckled, and I collapsed to the ground. My breathing was ragged, my heart racing uncontrollably. Then I heard it, her blood-curdling scream echoing in the distance, "She is here." My vision went black. The next day, my neighbor told me about Agatha. Years ago, she was a happy mother whose daughter attended Eden Hill School. But one day, her daughter died in a tragic accident on the school grounds. Agatha's world fell apart. Consumed by grief, she was never the same again. People said she spent her days searching for her lost child. Her sorrow transformed her. Her once kind face became pale and hollow, her eyes haunted by loss. They say her ghost still wanders the school grounds, waiting to be reunited with her daughter. I woke up in my bed, drenched in sweat. My neighbor sat beside me, looking worried. He explained that he'd found me unconscious near the school and carried me home. As he spoke, I imagined Agatha's ghost, forever searching, and the innocent face of her lost daughter. The images of her sorrow and haunting presence burned into my mind as if they were real. And then, for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw her outside my window, staring at me. But when I looked again, she was gone, leaving only an unsettling stillness in the air. As I sat there, I couldn't shake the feeling that her story wasn't over, and neither was mine.